Welcome back to another video, guys. Now in today's video we'll be learning all about contract reads and contract writes for desktop and Android builds. Let's start off by going into the contract manager, which is a very simple static class or a script that references the token contract, ABI, and our RPC node that we choose from Solidity side, from Remix, wherever you're deploying your contract. As long as you put that in a nice class there, it becomes super easy to reference it later on in other scripts. That's part one done. Part two, we need to create a function that's going to read information from the blockchain. If we head over to our fetch token data script over here, we'll see one read method here called fetch balance. There we go. Now let's run through this. We're calling the balance of method on chain for our smart contract. Pretty straightforward. The owner argument is going to be the connected wallet to the build, the provider being our RPC provider. We create contract data using our token ABI, our token contract, and the RPC provider. The data then is just a contract call for reads and contract.call data for writes, but we'll get to that in a bit. After which we pass our arguments. If you have no arguments, you leave this blank, that's all good. And then the method will spit back a bit of information here for us, or data from an object. This here is all optional, but I use it to sanitize the final balance. Just in case you're curious, these numbers here, this is the amount of decimals this custom strange token has. We divide the fetched amount by the amount of zeros to get a much more sanitized number at the end. So let's have a look and see what a read method looks like. First things first, let's quickly go into the wallet login. So we'll actually connect our wallet first before we do anything. That's super important. Actually, never mind, it just went straight into the scene and it works, so that's great. We can see in the console that it read 50,000 strange tokens, but it hasn't quite sanitized it yet, so this is the number you would get if you didn't sanitize it, like you see in this bit over here. But after sanitization, we can see that we have 50,000 strange tokens. Now, let's say for instance, you would like to send those tokens. Let's go back. Here you'll see an example of a write method. Now a write method is a little bit different. We do have to actually send a transaction, but for the most part it's the same. We specify our chain ID, in this case the Kronos testnet, the value being the native chain token. It's not a payable function or anything, so we keep that at 0. Our method is transfer, pretty standard. The to account is this custom account here that I've just used as a test, and the amount will definitely not be that much. It will be 100 tokens, plus then the amount of decimals of our token that we're sending. RPC being RPC, similar thing as before, we create a contract method, but this time around we use call data instead of call to send our method. In which case we also add gas, super important. You can leave it blank, but it needs to be included. MetaMask should do the rest for you. And of course we need to pass our arguments. You'll see here that the amount has been passed. Now it's super important that when you send a method, that the arguments, depending on the data type, you have to pass it. So if it's an integer, it would be int.pass, for instance, or float.pass, depending on the data type that you're sending. Otherwise, the blockchain kind of interprets it to be a little bit weird. Something about bytes and whatnot. And then we can just debug saying, hey, look, if the transaction is successful, then the transaction was sent successfully. Otherwise, if the user cancels, rejects, whatever, it's going to say that there's an issue. So fingers crossed, let's give it a go. There we go. MetaMask opens up. You should see that we're calling the transfer method, which can be seen right here. We're sending 10 strange tokens. We can confirm our transaction, copy, go back to Unity, and if all goes well, the console, we can see that the transaction was sent successfully. Now let's go back to our browser here. There we go. Transaction confirmed. And I've had a few issues with Kronos testnet, unfortunately, with locating these transaction hashes. But if we go into MetaMask here, there you go. There's our send tokens. Now you guys have effectively learned how to read a method from a blockchain and also write methods to a blockchain as well, or transactions. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.